Failed and let down. Those were the words of Prime Minister Tony Abbott and Premier Baird today to describe how the system let Man Monis slip through the cracks and commit an act of terror in Martin Place. A blunt report into the Lindt Café gunman has revealed 18 calls were made to a security hotline in the lead up to the siege, but no action was taken.
We know how this horror story ended. Today, the Prime Minister, Premier and Police Commissioner questioned how it all began. Why was gunman Man Monis free to bring terror to our city, and who was to blame?
Plainly, this monster should not have been in our community. He shouldn't have been allowed into the country. He shouldn't have been out on bail. He shouldn't have been with a gun. And he shouldn't have become radicalised.
Monis had a lengthy criminal history, long record of social welfare and prior security concerns. The intelligence agency ASIO even investigated him just days before the siege, after 18 calls to the terror hotline, but found he fell well outside the threshold to be included in the 400 highest priority counter-terrorism investigations. Yet the report concluded no major errors were made by the individual agencies handling his case.
The decisions that were made were reasonable enough at the time, but plainly, in their totality, the system has let us down.
The report recommends legal changes to make it easier for authorities to cancel passports. Terror links be considered in all bail applications, an urgent audit of firearms and greater access to information for ASIO.
At every stage, this individual was given the benefit of the doubt.
And that's the mindset that the PM insists needs to change, putting the security of the public above individual rights.
The question of precisely where we draw the line in the era of terrorism will have to be reconsidered, and the line may have to be redrawn.
The Premier proposing more changes to bail laws to make them even tougher.
If someone is identified as a terror suspect, and if they are intercepted in the New South Wales judicial system and they are charged with a serious offence, well, I have a view they should not be provided bail.
The revelation also today that during the siege our Prime Minister was initially prepared to go along with one of Monis's demands and talk to him on the phone.
My initial response was, well, if he wants to have a conversation with me, of course he can have a conversation with me. But my considered response was, well, we'd better get the advice of the police. And the advice of the police was that that could easily make a bad situation worse.
Police themselves praised once again for their actions that day.
It was an event that will be with us and live with us forever in history.
Live to Gabrielle Boyle, who's in Martin Place this evening. Gabby, do we know what sparked the phone calls to the National Security Hotline?
Well, Pete, we know the calls were made to the National Security Hotline between the 9th and 12th of December. I can tell you they were calls made to report offensive Facebook material posted by Monis, but ASIO, the AFP and New South Wales Police took a look at those posts and deemed them not an imminent threat. Of course, it was just days later, on the 15th, that Monis entered the Lindt Café here and caused such chaos in so many lives. Perhaps most concerning, Peter, is that this report found that Monis was one of just thousands of people here in Australia that pose an imminent security threat.
All right, Gabby, thank you. The Prime Minister also issued a warning today about the wider threat we're facing and plans to make a major security announcement tomorrow. Our political reporter Charles Croucher is in Canberra tonight. Charles, what can we expect to hear from the PM?
Well, Pete, the changes you can expect to be flagged tomorrow go to the heart of some of the failures identified in this report. Powers to cancel passports of dual citizens suspected with terror links, as well as a crackdown on welfare recipients with terror ties. We can also expect greater restrictions to those practising hate speech or what the Prime Minister says is actively encouraging attacks. And whilst Bill Shorten says Labor will judge each suggestion on its merits, these are hugely emotive issues and bipartisan support is highly likely. Pete?
Charles, thank you.